So welcome to today's session, where we're going to be talking about remote work for Africans. And this is such an interesting topic for me, and I'm very passionate about it, particularly because you're going to see in a few that the business that I represent today is all about empowering youth, particularly the African youth, when it comes to remote opportunities. So my name is Lorraine. I am a coach. I am a HR professional, as well as the founder of Beyond the Savannah, the company that I am representing today. And I am so honored to be here. Now, over the next 30 or 40 minutes or so, what you're going to be leaving this session with is, one, you're going to be able to understand the basics of remote work. Two, you're going to be able to understand the functions that are on the rise. You're also going to learn how to position yourself for these remote opportunities. And hopefully, by the end of this session, you should be able to start your remote work journey, yeah, with confidence, which is super important. And you're going to see why just a bit. So why do we do this, or what is our story? Like I mentioned, I am a HR profession and I'm a coach as well, and as a very recent founder of Beyond the Savannah, which our mission is to empower African youth by showcasing remote opportunities and enhancing employability through talent readiness. So just a little backstory of the birth of Beyond the Savannah. I have been in the HR profession for over 8 years. This is actually my 9th year, and I'm based in Kenya. I have worked locally in Kenya as well as globally for a huge remote company. And whilst I was there, I was employed as a HR VP, which is a human resource business partner, and the DEI specialist as well. So that is diversity, equity, and inclusion specialist for the company. And whilst I was with Superside, the company that I used to work with, we wanted to increase people of color. We wanted to increase our workforce diversity by hiring more people of color. And we couldn't find good talent, because one thing for sure about remote companies is they want to hire top talent globally. And that was really difficult for us to find. So it dawned on me that either one, people don't know that, particularly African youth, don't know that this opportunity exists, right? Either they don't know where to find them, or three, they don't see people that look like themselves working remotely. And hence the reason why Beyond the Savannah was actually born. And fun fact is that I got my first remote opportunity through TikTok, of all the places. Yes, TikTok. And that is why our very first platform that we formed as Beyond the Savannah was TikTok as well. So as to demonstrate to people that, hey, as an African, you can work remotely. It is possible. It is difficult, but it is attainable. Yeah. So let's start with the basics of remote work. Just to give you a brief understanding of what remote work is, I mean, remote work didn't start yesterday or last year. Yeah, it's been there since the early 2000s. And what I understand when someone says remote work, for me, is, of course, having flexible working hours, getting to work from anywhere in the world. You work in the comfort of your cafe, the comfort of your home, working at the beach, or even in the comfort of your bed. And that to me is remote work. And in 2010, we started seeing the proliferation of collaboration tools like Zoom and Google Meet that significantly contributed to the remote work capabilities. And we started seeing companies actually offering flexible working arrangements and recognizing the benefits that these had, the flexible working arrangements had on the employees' productivity as well as employee satisfaction. Then come the pandemic time, everyone was working remotely, right? And we're all using Zoom, we're all using Google Meet. And that then had a really, really important milestone to play in actually making remote work to be more mainstream, because it demonstrated to companies that, one, it is viable, two, employees are more productive, three, it is cost effective, And employees are more satisfied when they're working from the comfort of their own homes. Yeah. And so that then meant that there was a great turning point for the remote opportunities or remote work in general. And you're currently seeing more and more companies actually having remote work as the basis of what they do. So up to 16% of companies globally currently are operating remotely. And what that means is that they have no office space, they have no physical assets like vehicles or buildings, and their biggest asset is then their employees or the people that are working for them remotely, globally, or even distributed across the globe. Yeah. And the companies that we're seeing, or the regions that we're seeing bringing up more remote companies are Americas, Europe, as well as Asia time zones. And the companies that we're seeing are, what are they called? Startup companies, right? So these are companies that have been either incorporated in the last 2 years or between 3 to 5 years. Those are the more companies that are seeing are embracing the remote work environment or remote work landscape. And research has shown that by 2030, 30% of the global workforce will be working remotely. So yes, there is demand, and that means competition is also going to be fierce. That's why you need to understand how to position yourself as an African youth, as a person of color, for these remote opportunities. Now, what you're currently seeing is that the workforce is filled with people from 25 to 34 years of age, but that doesn't mean that if you're not within that age bracket, then you cannot work remotely. You actually can work remotely. The thing that is happening is recruiters are fishing from this pool. These are the people that either are in their first or second jobs, or they're looking to get into it, and they're like, so what else can we do? I'm not sure about the employment status in Ghana, but over in Kenya, unemployment for the youth is actually really, really high. So if you're not able to find employment in your local country, then the next best thing is see what else can I access in the global market. And so because you're willing to risk it all, then you land yourself a remote opportunity. So that is why we say the majority of the workforce in remote work is between 25 to 34. But that doesn't mean that if you're not within that bracket, then you don't work, you don't get to work remotely. That is not entirely true. And now that we have understood that, it is also super critical for us to understand the differences between full-time remote opportunities as what we showcase on our website, beyondthesavannah.co.ke, vis-a-vis the opportunities that we see on Upwork and FlexJobs, etc. Yeah. And please, by all means, should you have any questions, unmute or use the chat feature and let's engage. Yeah. So when we look at remote opportunities, there's of course the gig economy, and then there is the full-time remote opportunities. So for the opportunities that we post on our website and the opportunities that we promote to the African youth, is that you are assured of your pay at the end of the month because you're working for one company. You're working on a full-time basis because you're working again for one company. There is a sense of community, and there's a sense of community because you're working towards the same goals, one vision, one mission, and there are benefits that are associated and you do enjoy the benefits that are associated with employment, even though you are not an employee per se. We're going to talk about that in a bit. When you compare that with, say, freelance or the opportunities that you find, let's say, on Upwork or FlexJobs, those are based on projects. And because your payment is based on projects, so you're not assured of the same amount of pay every single month. And again, it is project-based. You get to work for a number of companies. It can be part-time sometimes, and you're not eligible to enjoy any benefit that comes with, being an employee. For example, you don't get to enjoy any paid time off or leave. You don't get to enjoy any maternity or parental leave. Yeah, remember I said an employee, right? Because most of these remote companies will actually hire you as an independent contractor. So you get to enjoy the benefits, whether it is you getting mental health stipend, you getting medical insurance, you getting paid time off, whether it is limited or unlimited, you getting compassionate leave, parental leave, you having a learning and training budget. You get to enjoy all those benefits. The only difference comes when you now think of litigation, or when there is a conflict between you and the company and you want to go ahead and seek guidance either through the court, then that's when it hits that you're actually not an employee, but you are an independent contractor. And they do so because it only makes sense. Imagine abiding by all the employment laws for, let's say, 60 or 70 countries. It does get hectic. So the easiest way for a remote company to go around it is by hiring all their employees as independent contractors. Are we clear up to that stage? Give me a thumbs up if you're clear. Great. Do we have any questions? Do you have any questions? You might go ahead and unmute. If you do, you're good. Is that okay? Good? Good, okay.
Lorraine?
Yes.
I said earlier, the chats option is disabled if it can be able, because I think I'm the only person that can speak. I don't know for the rest if they have the option of unmuting to talk. We cannot chat in the thing because chat is disabled.
Oh, really? How then do we go about that?
I told the host before she went away, but she didn't do it once you were connected.
Okay, cool. I don't know how we can go around that, but here's the thing. We've got a Q&A, right? You can't hear anything. Okay, it's all, or we can use the Q&A, right? Because
Yes, we can use the Q&A. Yeah.
Okay, great. So no questions up to that point. Awesome. Let's proceed. Okay. So what are some of the benefits that you get to enjoy when you're working remotely? Like I've mentioned a ton of benefits, and it's really important for us to understand the benefits, because sometimes when you get to the negotiation table, when you're being given an offer, you might not negotiate on the salary or the package that they're giving you in terms of salary, right? If it's $2,000 or $2,500, that might be really, really fixed for them. However, you can then renegotiate on the other terms, whether they're giving you a home office setup, whether they're giving you Wi-Fi setup, whether they're giving you mental health stipend, right? Whether they're offering you the L&D, so learning and development budget. Are they offering you co-working space allowance? Are they going to give you equipment? Those are some of the benefits that you get to enjoy when you're working remotely. Now, on a more generalized approach, because these companies get to source talent globally, they are breaking geographical barriers, so they're able to hire talent from anywhere in the world. And that means for us Africans, we also get to have access to the global market, which is really awesome. The other thing, remember I said when I was starting that the biggest asset of these remote companies are their employees. So they're highly focused on employee well-being. They do invest on mental health resources and support systems, particularly for their employees. I can tell you for sure, having worked in a local company in Kenya and having worked remotely, I never felt more valued as an employee as when I was working remotely. I felt like my voice was heard. I felt like I was valued and my output was valued as an individual. So that is that which makes you even want to work even more harder for them. Then the other things that you get to enjoy: flexible working hours. There is a lot of talk on work-life balance and work-life integration. Also, remember, it is cost saving to you as well as to the employer, because there's no commuting. So you don't have to spend money on gas or on public transportation. You get to save all that money because you get up, and you work in the comfort of your bed, or you work in the next room, right? And then you also get to earn in foreign currency, which, if you're being very honest, is a really, really cool thing, right? You get to have the foreign exchange rates working in your favor. I know, for example, in Kenya right now, the dollar is against like 130 shillings, which is awesome. So, you get to have kind of like salary increments as and well the dollar fluctuates, yeah? Then, because remember, there is no commute, you get to reduce the carbon footprint. And, the overall impact on the environment is reduced. Then there is, of course, increased productivity because there is no distraction. The focus is just on outputs. And there is increased employee satisfaction as well as retention, because if you're given flexible working hours, you get to work from anywhere in the world, you're earning in foreign currency, you feel listened to, you are heard as an employee, then you definitely feel really good about yourself when you're working for such a company, yeah? And then, of course, for the employer, there is business continuity as well as resilience. So I'm seeing a number of the chat is going on. So yeah, oh yay, it has been enabled. Great. So Dennis is asking, is medical insurance provided? Not all companies will offer you medical insurance. So that is something that you have to ask of them. And remember, like I said, sometimes you might not negotiate on the salary, but you can negotiate on these other aspects, right? So do ask. Do we have any other question? Yes. So Nyevu asks, I noticed you mentioned a target range of 25 to 35 for this role for remote opportunities, Nyevu. Does that mean that applicants above this range are likely to get considered for the positions? Absolutely not. And if you missed it, I said the reason as to why we're seeing more and more people in that age bracket, 25 and 34, landing remote opportunities is because they are the people who are out there risking it all, sending out applications, right? They're people who are either in their first roles or second jobs, and they're looking to see what else can I do with my life, right? As compared to, let's say, someone who's worked for a very stable company or is working for the government, and now you're all of a sudden telling them that, hey, there is remote opportunities. One, you cannot walk into your HR's office. The company doesn't have any physical building. It's kind of risky. And let's be honest, not everyone really loves a risky environment. Yeah, so that is why. But Nyevu, to answer your question, absolutely not. It doesn't deter you from getting hired. Yeah. Let us see. What are the opportunities or benefits? So Kenneth, you've just missed that. Yeah, we've talked about you can get to enjoy benefits such as unlimited paid time off. You get to enjoy benefits such as flexible working hours, working from anywhere in the world. You get to earn in foreign currency. There are a myriad of benefits that, differ from one company to the other, like say mental health, wellness, co-working space stipend, whether they have a learning and development budget for you, and for some companies, actually, they would even go a step further to contribute to a CSR project that you like, yeah? So the benefits are completely different from company to company. We've got a question from Frederick. Can a contract be terminated because an employee is not obeying working hours or time bound? So Frederick, your answer is no, because remember, you get to enjoy flexible working hours. But like I always tell all my clients, because these companies are coming into Africa, right? For example, as a HR person, you can get to earn anything between $30,000 to $50,000, right? Which I'm not sure in Ghana, but in Kenya market, for a HR officer role or a HRBP role, that is way above market rate. You're being paid 3 times average market rate. So for you who is being paid way above market rate, you get to enjoy flexible working hours and you get to work from anywhere in the world. I always say, to whom much is given, much is expected. So you also need to be very disciplined with your working hours. If you set your time that you're working from 11 to 6 or 11 to 8 p.m., please adhere to that. Communicate with your HR, communicate with your supervisor, and please adhere to that. Yeah. Let us see, the chat is going crazy. Good. Are there companies in Africa here that employ remotely? So Karkaba, most startups in Africa, I'm not sure I've seen many of them hiring remotely, right? So the trend that you're currently seeing globally is that these companies are usually from Asia or America or Europe. Again, they are VC funded. So you also have to, when you're looking for opportunities, please beware of that, either VC funded or Y Combinator funded. That means that, they've got funding from other stakeholders. So they've got money in the bank to continue paying your salary, right? So unfortunately, no. In Kenya, I've only seen one that I'm forgetting its name currently, but yeah, they're not that many. But that doesn't mean that, these companies in America are not hiring from Africa. They are actually hiring from Africa, and you're going to see in a little while. So do you need a degree to, what is it? Oh yeah, do you need a degree or qualifications for the positions that are usually available? Not all, Zara. They are more focused on output rather than your papers. So that is why you constantly need to upskill. Currently, there's all the buzz about AI, AI. So if you're here and let's say you're trying to get into remote work, have you done an AI essentials course? If you're here, have you done any introduction to data analysis course? Because those are some of the buzzwords that are currently happening. So even me in HR, right? I still have to do data analysis. I still have to do HR analytics and reporting because that is very relevant in my field. And you're going to see a little bit more. Freda, what are the most important requirements for getting remote work? We're going to talk about that very shortly, Freda, so just bear with us. Let's see. Please throw more light on the independent contractor type of remote working. What does it entail? Tips to make it more favorable. So, Tay, your first name is, I don't want to butcher it. The reason as to why companies will hire you as an independent contractor is, remember I said they do hire people globally, right? So they have what you're calling a distributed team. When you see that, it means that they have people in Ghana, they have people in Kenya, they've got people in Australia, whatever, Canada, all distributed. Now it becomes really, really difficult for these companies to then adhere to each and every labor law of these countries, right? The labor laws in Kenya are different from the labor laws in South Africa, different from the labor laws in Ghana, right? So for it to make sense, they then adhere to the ILO, which is like the global labor laws, right? The international labor laws. And for that, they need to hire you as an independent contractor. The only difference that you will will encounter is when it then comes to litigation, when you've got whether you've been dismissed unfairly according to you, and then you want to take them to court. That's when you realize that you're not an employee, but you're an independent contractor. But when it comes to enjoying all the benefits of remote work, you do get to enjoy them as an employee. Does that make sense to you? Let's see. Thank you very much. Discipline is important. Which time is the best for a Kenyan? So you're going to talk about time zones in a bit. I think let's proceed, and then we'll come back to the questions. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So some of the functions that are on the rise, I always say, if you can work with a laptop in a quiet space and Wi-Fi, you're good to go. You can work remotely. And you're even seeing the telehealth, like the health industry, getting into remote work, because now there is the digitalization of patients' records. You can work as a therapist remotely. You can work as a psychiatrist remotely. You can work as a nurse remotely, right? So of course there is the tech space, and how I usually try to explain this is, remember I said most of these companies are startups. So if you are a startup, the first order of business that you're going to have is to make sure that your products and softwares are out there for people to buy, right? So then you bring on board people like the data analysts, the cloud engineers, the product designers, the product engineers, etc. Then the next step or the next course of action is to then bring people who can sell your product or service to your customers. So you bring on board the salespeople, the marketers, and then you bring on board people who can actually take care of your customers. Then comes customer service opportunities or customer success opportunities or customer experience opportunities. Then you need people to take care of your employees. Now the support functions come, accounting, HR, supply chain, etc. Right? So that's how you look at it. So if you can work remote, if you can do your work with a laptop, a quiet space, and Wi-Fi, regardless of the paperwork and the filing, then you can work remotely. There's an opportunity for you out there, including education and e-learning. Yeah. So we talked about, we've got a question on time zones and like which time zone is great if you're a Kenyan. Now, time zones have been loosely classified into 5. We've got the Americas, we've got the APAC, we've got LATAM, EMEA, and worldwide. When we're talking about Americas, we're talking about North American countries like the US, Mexico, Cuba, etc., which in Africa you do not qualify for based off of your geographical location. Super important. APAC, Asian Pacific, that's the countries like India, Samoa, Philippines. Again, we do not qualify for those opportunities. Then there is LATAM. This is Latin American, and these are South American companies. So we've got countries like Chile, Brazil, Colombia. Again, we do not qualify for those opportunities based off of our geographical location. What we qualify for as Africans are EMEA time zone, so that is Europe, Middle East, and Africa. We also qualify for MENA, which is not here, that is Middle East and North Africa. We also qualify for jobs that are hiring globally or worldwide. Now, the difference between beyondthesavannah.co.ke, our website, and any other job board out there is that on our website, all the opportunities that you see, all the jobs that are hiring on our website are hiring in the EMEA time zone, in Africa, and globally. So that means you qualify for those opportunities based off of your geographical location. Should you want to go to, let's say, a job board like JobGather, then you do have to filter it with EMEA, global, or worldwide, or Africa. Because if you do apply to an opportunity in Americas, and then you get to the, let's say, just for some reason, the recruiter wasn't really checking, you get to the final stage, to the offer stage, or even you use a VPN and you maneuver and you get to the offer stage, then they ask you for a W-9 form, which is like the revenue authority form over in the US. You do not have that. So essentially what you have done is that you have wasted your entire time, and getting a remote job isn't easy, it isn't for the faint-hearted. You get through a series of interviews. So you go through the series of interviews and then you're disqualified based off of your geographical location, which is such a shame. Yeah. So someone asked, what do you need to work remotely? I always say, and I think I've hinted, one, your communication skills, verbal and written communication skills need to be on point, because you need to have a good command of the English language. Now, this is not a measure of your intelligence. However, English is a universally accepted common language, and that is what is used in these remote companies, right? So you need to have a good command of the English language. You need to have a working laptop, not a phone, a working laptop. And, some companies will have specific specs, others will not. Most of them will not actually. You just need to have a working laptop. And then 3, you need to have a stable internet or Wi-Fi. Yeah. And for our participants in Nigeria that, power situation isn't, or even in South Africa, that the power situation isn't that good, then you need to have a stable power situation going on. So if you need to have a generator or solar, please have that. And then lastly, you need to have a quiet space, because remember, you're going to be working on average 8 hours or more. Yeah. Then let's talk about positioning. So what else do you need for you to land a remote job? The tools that you need to equip yourself with. One is an ATS-friendly CV. For those of you who don't know what ATS is, ATS in full is Applicant Tracking System. And this is the system that is used for shortlisting, not only for remote companies, but even for big organizations in your local country. right? So your CV needs to be working with the system and not against it. So I'm not sure if the next speaker is going to be talking about, I'm sure they're going to be talking about CV writing, and hopefully they're going to cover what an ATS CV is. If you need help, if you need more help with that, please reach out to us through our email. It's on our website, beyondthesavannah.co.ke. Yeah. So one, you need an ATS friendly resume, whether you're a student or not. Two, you need an optimized LinkedIn profile. Again, whether you're a student or a business person, you want to venture back into employment, you need an optimized LinkedIn profile. And three, we need an introductory video. This is a new phenomenon that we're seeing, because with the rise of AI, most recruiters are now finding that you present well on paper, or you have the qualifications on paper, but when it comes to the interview, you do not present well. And that is an issue that you're finding with most African candidates. So we need to be more secure in ourselves and in our skills, because we are capable of working remotely. We are highly skilled, we are highly educated, and that is what they want to see in that introductory video. The introductory video normally needs to be like 1 minute, maximum 2 minutes, and it's you answering the question, tell me about yourself. If you need more content on that, please follow us on our social media platforms. We have done elaborate videos on how to answer that question and what that introductory video should encompass. Our social media handles are Beyond the Savannah. Beyond the Savannah on all social media platforms. Yeah. Now, of course, remote work is all great. You get to work wherever you are, you get to work for an American company, but it also comes with challenges, and it will be not prudent of us it will not be prudent of us to go through the challenges as well. So some of the challenges that we experience, again, is internet connectivity for some African countries. So what we do advise is that make sure that you have either mobile data plans or you've got portable Wi-Fi devices, right? Then we're talking about time zone differences. That is another challenge, because working with teams that are distributed across the globe sometimes can have conflicts and there is communication delays. So what you need to have is to, one, set your personal boundaries, as well as, use tools such as Time Buddy to help you navigate that whole world, right? So when someone says 9 UTC, what does that mean? Or 6 UTC? How then does that translate to East African time? Or how then does that translate to GMT, right? And then we've also got cultural barriers. How we communicate is different. How a Ghanaian communicates and how a Kenyan communicates and how an America's candidate communicates is completely different based off of our, cultural associations. So, and that can often lead to misunderstandings, and you need to be able to reduce as much conflict as possible. So it's really, really important that you understand, one, the global etiquette, and two, you learn just the common etiquette of how we communicate. And one book that I always advise for you want to read is Culture Map by Erin Myers. I don't know if you can type it down, but I will. Yeah, so Culture Map by Erin Myers. Please read it. It does a really, really good job of just showcasing how different cultures communicate and what to expect. Yeah, and then always remember to use, when you're communicating written communication, make sure to use emojis as much as possible. Yeah, so as to always kind of cut down whatever it is that you're communicating. Then lastly, we all face isolation when you're working remotely, and please, how to curb this is that get out more often, take exercises, have frequent work dates. For the companies that are going to give you co-working space stipend, use that. Yeah, get out of your house and interact with other human beings. It is good for us to interact virtually, but we are humans, we still need that human interaction. So go get it. So how does then Beyond the Savannah help you to become talent ready for remote work. So we do have our packages, and we do help candidates create, aside from, of course, showcasing remote opportunities that we don't charge, that is free. When you go to our website, you access the jobs for free, you get to apply for free. What we do charge is, the talent readiness part. So that is, we work on your ATS CV, we work on your CV to make it ATS. We optimize your LinkedIn profile for you. We help with the introductory videos. If you wanted to get a consultation call with me, you can also purchase it through our website. We do have coaching sessions. We do have interview preparations, as well as student package. Yeah. Then, very lastly, before we can head on over to the questions, some of the remote job sites we've got. One, of course, beyondthesavannah.co.ke. Check us out. We've got remote.com. Remember, you have to filter using time zones. We've got remotive.com. We've got JobGather as well. And of course, with any good thing, there are always scammers right there. So how then are you able to check, or what are some of the red flags that you have when you're going onto those platforms so that you avoid getting scammed? One, if you're hired on the spot, that is a scam. You're never hired on the spot. It is global competition. You're never hired on the spot. Never, not heard of. Two, if there are no face-to-face interviews, that is another huge red flag. Three, if you're offered stock or shares rather than a salary, that is another red flag. Four, if there are spelling mistakes on the job advert, again, another red flag. And then you can always use LinkedIn to just ascertain whether the company is existing or not. And when you go into LinkedIn, type the company, then check people, and then strike a conversation with someone. That's how you know. Yeah. Those are our handles. We are on all social media platforms, including YouTube. Check us out. We do post a ton of content just to help you, navigate the remote work landscape. A lot more that we could not have covered in this 1 hour session. So let's go to the questions. I love interacting with people. Let's see. Questions. Thank you so much, Nyevu, for putting it there. Dennis asked, at what stage is the introductory video needed? When you're sending in your applications, actually. More and more companies are moving towards this, and we call it a synchronous interview style. So when you're sending in your application, when you start setting out, you will soon realize that you need 3 things: the introductory video, the CV, and the LinkedIn. So that's why you need all those 3 before you start sending out applications. Yeah. Are there opportunities for creatives, or like graphic designers and video editors? Karakaba, yes. Yes, there are. The company that I used to work for, Superside, was actually a design tech company. So you want to check it out. Yeah. There are tons of opportunities for creatives. Let us see. We've got a ton of questions. Let's see. With most jobs being in tech, are there opportunities in finance, accounts? Absolutely, Naito. There are tons of opportunities. Actually, in 2022, the most sought after profession, or the most sought job adverts that we saw in the remote landscape were finance and accounting opportunities. So there are opportunities out there. So what are the requirements to be hired? I think we've covered that. Let us see. Yeah, what's happening? Thank you so much. Can you share my link? I think someone shared. Thank you, Niva. Name of the book is Culture Map. Thank you, Nyevu. What other questions do we have? So how do you get paid? Via bank or what platforms? Which is a really important question. So you get paid through third-party financial platforms, right? So think platforms such as Payoneer, I think it's JigPay or GigPay, yeah. Wise, as well as PayPal. Then what happens is, of course, you need to have your foreign currency account in a local country. So then you can transfer your money from the third party to your foreign currency bank account. Yeah. Kove, do you have to choose remote job that is in your field of study? Absolutely not, Kove. As long as you have, transferable skills, you're good to go. Yeah. Is it possible to get competitive entry level that is with good salary, especially with little job experience or even switching to a new field, Victoria? That is absolutely correct. And when you check our website, beyondthesavannah.co.ke, you're going to find a ton of internship opportunities that are hiring remotely as well as entry level opportunities. So please go ahead onto that website and check us out. Yeah. Musaika is asking, can you please show the sites for the jobs again? Okay, I'm gonna do that in a bit, Musaika. Deborah, does the number of years of experience really matter? No, the number, as long as you have, remember, like I said, it is transferable skills and what you bring to the table as opposed to your papers. So if you've got entry level, like let's say 2 to 5 years of experience, there are opportunities for you there that will be hiring entry level, particularly functions such as customer service. They tend to hire more entry level positions. So you want to check them out. Is remote work subject to PAYE? Beldine, absolutely not, because when they're only obligated to the taxpayers in the country that they are incorporated. So if they're incorporated in the US, then definitely the candidates in the US will be paying, taxes over there. But for us who are in the African continent, you're not. Whether you're working in Ghana, then that is your own prerogative. But what I usually advise, I'm not sure how that works in Ghana, but in Kenya, set up a company, then you end up paying withholding tax, which is 5%, as opposed to the PAYE, which is 35% of your income. Yeah. The name of the book again is, I think it was typed up there, Na Lamli. It is Culture Map by Erin Meyer. Let's see, are there opportunities for customer service agents in Africa? Absolutely, Godfred. So you want to check out our website, yeah? Please go ahead and do so. Coffee, please, do you need a US working visa? You do not need a visa. Absolutely not. Particularly for the companies or for the jobs that you see on our website, you do not need a visa, yeah? Are there remote opportunities for design engineers on sites which you've shared? I'm not sure about the design engineers again. The other thing is that for medical doctors, you will need to be either certified in the US or UK. So I'm not sure if that still applies to design engineers. Yeah. Let us see. Any more questions? What about data analyst positions with no experience? If you're a data analyst, Davis, then I do suggest that make sure you get accredited, particularly by AWS, which is like Amazon Web Services, right? So the book is by Erin Myers. Our website is beyondthesavannah.co.ke. So make sure you check us out. Yeah. So when talking about job security, and I think that is the question before I can do this, the job sites, right? I want to talk about job security. I don't think any company can offer you job security unless you're working for the government. And even then, it's not secure, right? So it's definitely very turbulent. And remember, that's why I said the people who are willing to risk it all are, 25 to 34 years of age, who wants to see what next. But then again, remember, when you're applying to opportunities, check out either companies that have been funded by the shareholders or VC funding or Y Combinator funding. They seem to be more stable than all the others. So just have that in mind. Do you have any questions on the Q&A? Because I see we have 2 minutes left before we can actually end this. Yeah, Claudia, what is your advice on the disparity in the amount paid to Africans and our contemporaries out there? Claudia, that is a very good question, which I'm going to attempt to answer in 1 minute. So we of course offer fairly cheap labor, and that is why they're coming over here. That is just the reality of the matter. And the fact that you're paid 3 or 4 times way above market rate, it means you're better placed than working, let's say, for a Ghanaian company or a Kenyan company. So that is how I will end it, right? It's not the most ideal, but it is the reality. Okay, now thank you so much. Emmanuel, I really talking about LinkedIn, I would say make sure that you follow us, right? If you have any more questions, make sure that you follow us on all our social media platforms. It is beyondthesavannah.co.ke, because we post a ton of content answering all your questions, right? And we can engage further on those platforms. So check us out on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. And thank you so much for joining. This was so lovely. And I hope I can interact more with you guys on our platforms. Yeah. Thank you. Have yourselves a very lovely day. And I hope you found value in this.